Hey guys, so today's video is going to be a little different. This is just kind of a slightly bookish adjacent sit down and chit chat with me, like a story time, because I have been saying that I'm gonna tell you guys about this particular story from when I was a kid for a while now, and I've just never sat down and filmed it. And today is the day. Today is the day that I'm sitting down and filming this story about how in third grade, fourth grade, I almost got expelled from private school for reading Harry Potter books. I know. It seems crazy. I feel like to most people, it seems like really strange. Like, why would a school penalize a child for reading? Like, why would we not want kids to read regardless of what genre or what they're picking up, as long as it's age appropriate? Because like, we want to encourage reading, right? Like, that's what you would think. But no, when you go to a very strict Southern Baptist private school, that is not their line of thinking. That is not, where their heads are. Because they're not really thinking about your education. They're thinking about your soul and how you've just damned it to eternal fire and brimstone. Like, at 9 years old. So, like, that's a thing. Like, so, to start off, we'll preface this with a little information about the school I went to. I went to a very strict Southern Baptist, fundamentalist Christian school from first grade to 7th grade. I did leave after 7th grade and went on to public school, and it was glorious and amazing, and I loved everything about it. At first, when I was younger, I didn't really realize anything different, and it's funny because my family themselves are not very religious. Like, my mom is not super religious, my dad not really so much either, but they thought that it would be a better education, right? They're like, oh, well, you'll get some of the church stuff, but it'll also be a better education for you in the long run compared to a public school. And honestly, at least with this school in particular, that was definitely not the case. Not at all, because they would preach over teach, is what I always say that they did. Like, it was very fire and brimstone. It was very if you do this, you're going to hell. You can't question us. You can't question what we say. And of course, I was always getting in trouble because I was questioning things. And, my parents were whatever, just kind of deal with it for a little while. And then it started getting worse, which I'm surprised after this incident, though, that Mama didn't pull me out, because Mama went up there ready to raise some hell after the Harry Potter incident. So, I'm in about 3rd grade, 4th grade. Picture it. Little Jessie and her friends, and we like Harry Potter. And I don't remember how many books were out. It wasn't all of them because I was older. It might have been the first 2 books or something, because I grew up with them coming out. And I read them as they came out pretty much. So, I knew I was not allowed to bring them on school property because that was a thing. So I did not. I read them at home, in the car. I did not bring these books onto school property because I knew that they didn't want us to do that. And how did I know that? How did I know that, you ask? Well, dear friends, there were flyers in the hallways of the school talking about how Harry Potter was satanic and it was targeting children to bring them to the dark side. And there was a whole thing. I'm pretty sure my school had a book burning at one point. Probably let's burn some Harry Potter books. So it was a thing. Those flyers were in the office, talk to your kid about Harry Potter, don't let your kid read Harry Potter, aimed at the parents, but the kids too, we're seeing these things. And it's well, what's so wrong with it? And it said, like, a lot of their reasoning was like, oh, like the spells that were in the book were real spells, and when you read them and say them out loud, you're going to unintentionally cast spells on your fellow students and teachers, and like there's so much like real spells worked into these stories that like you're going to be taken by Satan down to hell on a permanent vacation. Like, it was a trip, yo. So, you know me, I like to question things. I wanted to read them. And I did. And I liked them. Surprise, surprise. So, I'm reading these books. I'm liking these books. They're great. I have some friends in the same grade as me, and we're talking about these books. We never once brought them to school. But, we're talking about them, and we're like, what house would you be? Or, I think like the 3 books were out. Like, it wasn't like a big deal. Like, we're still young, okay? Young children. You have to get your head around the fact that we were young children. And so, of course, like, we're talking about it, and obviously somebody overheard us. Whatever. I didn't think much of it. All of a sudden, the principal comes into our classroom one day, right? And we're just like, what's going on? Like, we didn't know what's going on. We're learning cursive and talking about Jesus. And all of a sudden, they're like, you, and you, out with me. And we're like, me and my friends were like, what's going on? What'd you do? What did I do? I don't know. It was a thing. So we're taken out in the hallway. We're, what's going on? We're freaking out, Granted, you have to remember, again, little children, like, I'm not at the point I am now where I'm gonna call some shit out and be like, the F's going on. Like, I'm like 9, 10 max. So I'm freaked out, right? I'm like, what is going on? My friends didn't know none of us knew what was going on. We're taken into the office, but we're not allowed to like sit together. They put us in separate rooms, like by ourselves. So like, I'm in a room, my friend's in a room, my other friend's in a room, like, and then eventually the principal comes in and starts like talking to me. And now my mom is not there. Like, it is me and the principal. And she is like interrogating me about Harry Potter. So finally I realized what this is about. She's threatening to expel us because of Harry Potter. She's asking if we're casting spells on students or teachers, or, if we've been speaking to Satan, things like that, like real wide out there things. Just like, I was like, no, I started crying because like the threat level, you're going to be expelled, you're going to burn in hell, this is what's going to happen, da 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 da. Like, I don't know if y'all have ever been to a school like that or a church that preaches that way, but it's frightening for a young child because they're literally telling you these things that like, you do this, pit of hell forever. You're going to burn and it's going to hurt and it's going to suck and you're never going to see your friends or your family and God's not going to love you. And like, this is what it's traumatic, y'all. Like, so I'm sitting here bawling because they're telling me that witchcraft and Satan and demons, and I'm like, I just was reading some Harry Potter books, and then my mama came. Y'all, don't mess with mama, okay? Don't mess with mama. Like, that is where I get it from, I think. I'm very much like my mom now that I am older. She came in like a bat out of hell. She was pissed and she let the entire faculty know it. For one, she was pissed that they were questioning me about stuff and making me cry without her present. She was mad that they took me out of class because obviously the whole point of being in school is to learn. So obviously they pulled us out so we're not learning in class. It's like interrupting our learning day. And then she was pissed about that. She was mad. Mama was mad. Rightfully so. Like, I'd be mad. I'm like, looking back now, I'm like, if that was my daughter or son, man, I'd be mad. And I had more experiences with that school, like, later, and I eventually left. But, yeah, She came in mad. She let the principal have it. And somehow I still ended up going to the school for like a couple more years after this. Like, I want to say I was in 4th grade. So like 3 more years after this, I want to say I continued going to this school. But it like continuously got worse. Like I continuously got in like more and more and more trouble. Like for little things. Like they didn't like that I was a competitive swimmer because I had to wear a bathing suit and there was boys at the pool. Like that was a big thing. And it continuously got worse. Like I can do more private school story times if you want, like that are not bookish adjacent. There was one time where we had a guest preacher for Chapel Revival Week. I don't know if you know, you know. And I vividly remember this preacher talking about the evils of Disney, and not like in the way that we think Disney is like evil, like big money corporation. No. It was like talking animals evil. Like you can't have movies with talking animals because that's not how the world works, because that's like going to make your kids burn in hell, so they're brainwashing your children to worship Satan. Like it was like, I don't know how you connect these dots to get to these understandings that like kid likes Bambi, gonna burn in hell. Like, it's very strange to me. So if you want more of these little story times, I can do them. I think they're fun. And it just kind of gives you a little insight into me as a person and where I have come from. And I know I recently discussed Heretics Anonymous, which really hit home for me. And part of the reason was because of the school that I went to and the upbringing I had from grades like 1 to 7. Because it was an insanely crazy time. Like, there's so many scenes from Heretics Anonymous that made me remember, like, shit that I know of that happened at private school, or, like, things that happened to friends of mine, friends' older siblings. Like, I had a friend whose older sibling got expelled 2 weeks before graduation after her 18th birthday, 2 weeks before graduation, because she was smoking a cigarette on a Saturday at her own car. Like driving down the road, and a teacher happened to see her. That's what we're dealing with here. So somehow I didn't get expelled for reading Harry Potter. Probably because mama laid into them. My friends were all not really in trouble either, because I think their mamas laid into them too. Because like we're all still friends. Like that group that I'm friends with, that's like the people I'm still friends with. That's hysterical. But yeah, I don't feel like Harry Potter damaged my soul. You know, I don't. Not in that way anyway, you know. I don't think that Joanne is going to drag me down to hell with Satan to have cast spells on people. I don't know. It's still mind-boggling to me that is something taught to children, that we people actually think and believe. Like, it's fiction, it's fantasy, like, it's not real. But it was weird because, like, we were allowed to read Narnia. And that doesn't make sense. Because I'm pretty sure Narnia is just like a big, like, I don't know. What's the difference? Please make it make sense. And like Lord of the Rings was fine. Like The Hobbit was cool. Like I don't understand like the differentiation on levels of whatever. Didn't make sense to me. But hopefully you enjoyed this like weird, fun story time. And let me know, do you have any like weird private school like childhood experiences too? Because I got a few, y'all. I got a bunch. We could sit here all day and talk about them, but I would also love to hear your weird growing up experiences. All right, well, thank you guys for hanging out with me. I'm Jessie, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.